Now, I'll tell you, the town of St. Albans, Vermont, is predominantly white. 2% of the population is black. Everyone, please welcome James to the show, because that's exactly where James grew up. You see, when James started school at the age of 6, he noticed he didn't look like the other kids. And at that point, his parents, who were Caucasian, explained to him that he was adopted. So as you can imagine, it was hard for James to make friends, connect with his black roots. And so 2 years ago, James began to search for his biological family. This is his story.
I was born outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. As a baby, I bounced in and out of foster homes, and at the age of 3, I happened to be adopted by a family that was Caucasian, and I was brought to Vermont. I just want you to understand that the one thing about Vermont is that there is no diversity. Even though I was blessed to have the family that I did, I never felt that I could really connect with anybody or find somebody that looked like me to have as a role model. I was a black kid in what was a very white world. I would always get picked on for things that were out of my control. The color of my skin, or the texture of my hair. I constantly felt like an outsider. All that made me feel angry inside, and it fueled me to want to know my roots and my culture. When I was 29, I took a 23andMe DNA test, and my journey to find my biological family began. Through my digging, I found out that a man named Gene could possibly be my biological father. These DNA results are really everything to me. These answers are gonna allow me to be able to connect to my history, my ancestors, and my bloodline, and have solace in knowing where I come from.
So, Gene is backstage. Just remember, James has never met Gene face to face. So let's go back, because I would suspect that all of this came about because of your adoption.
I believe it was controversial or difficult to deal with because of the situation that I was coming out of an urban community and they were bringing me to a rural community.
And in fact, your adoptive parents gave you the name James.
Yes,
That
sir.
was not your biological name.
No, sir.
So as I understand it, was it when you first went to school, realized you were different than all the other kids, that your parents, your adoptive parents, finally told you that you were adopted?
Yeah.
You didn't know that until you were like 6.
Yeah, I didn't even ask. But once I got to school, the reality kicked in that I was different. It was hard to avoid it when you had children that were making fun of you for things out of your control.
By the way, as I understand it, your great outlet was athletics.
I loved football. I played hockey. I played baseball, basketball, soccer.
Here's the problem when you start trying to find your birth parents. You don't know your name.
No, sir.
You don't know anything about that. So what did you do?
I happened to hear about a 23andMe DNA test. I signed up. I got a DNA test in the mail. I took it. It will show you people that have your bloodline that have taken that test.
Ah.
So I started with the people that were closest in my DNA match, and I started messaging them.
So how does Gene come into the picture?
So right before Christmas or Thanksgiving, I received a call from one of my aunts saying that Gene was trying to reach out to me. And then later on that day, I ended up getting a message from him, said, "Hello, my son."
Now, as I understand it, your adoptive mother knew the first name of your father, right?
Yes.
And did she ever tell you that?
She actually ended up knowing my mother's full name and my father's full name.
She wasn't supposed to because it was a closed adoption.
Yeah.
But she kind of peeked.
Yes, sir. She actually had told me my mother's biological name, which was
Right.
which I didn't believe at that age. I thought, what are the odds
Right.
of this?
One of the reasons why you went for this search is you have a child,
Yes, sir.
and you wanted your child to know
Yes.
her lineage.
Very much.
What was the first communication like between you and Gene?
I really didn't know what to think or feel.
You didn't know whether to believe him or not.
Yeah.
Before I bring him out, I want everybody to know from you, you don't blame him
No.
because he didn't know that your name had been changed.
No, sir, you did not.
Meanwhile, how have your adoptive parents been through all this? Have they been supportive?
My mom is awesome. My father is of the opinion is like, I raised you. I was there.
Right. Yeah. I
And-
mean, I know how that feels because I have an adopted son. Now, it's time to meet Gene and have James see him for the first time in 31 years. Gene, come on out.
Hey, my man.
Good. My boy Mary, thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Sit down next to each other.
Man, think of my boy.
Look at him. Look at him.
Tell you my son.
You think so?
Yeah.
Gene, really?
Yes.
You see yourself in him?
Yes, man. It's me, man.
Do you ever think this day would come, Gene?
I prayed for it, Mary. I searched and searched, and the reason why I never got a chance to connect was his name. My name is Gene Anthony Caldwell. His name was Gene Anthony Caldwell Jr. So that's
So, in other words, he was named after you.
correct. And I searched under that name, but I just kept.
By the way, did you know his mother was pregnant?
Yes, I knew his mother was pregnant, and we separated at that time.
And so, when you finally got back to try to get in touch with them, they were gone.
Yeah, she was nowhere to be found.
Now, we're very transparent on this show. And so we have to tell everyone, Gene is not unfamiliar with the show. He was here, I think, 7 years ago, 6 years ago,
Yeah, Maury.
for a DNA test. And I have a video from that heartbreaking appearance because it was the same kind of deal. There's this guy who shows up, Gene, when you're 24 years old.
24 years old, Maury.
And you're kind of angry at him too. Why?
If he had any idea that there's a possibility that he had a daughter, why wait until then?
I never knew. I would have been there.
He says he's not your father.
All I know is that lady right there told that man right there that he could be my father, and my sister right there called me.
I didn't say he could be your father.
You was a damn
I did not.
Gene thinks he might be your father. Janine, his daughter, thinks he might be your father.
She-
Naomi says that's not your father.
I'm here for you. All them years, I should have been there in your life.
Why are you so sure?
This is my daughter. I don't care. I don't care
You've
what
never
the
met her.
research-
You've never met
This
her.
is my daughter. All these years I worried and thought
Did you
about
think
her.
about her?
All these years.
Only once I learned that she was my daughter, Maury. I never knew.
When it comes to 29-year-old Shania, Gene, you are not.
Thank you. Rub
She's
it.
still my daughter.
Rub it.
Wow.
You know what, Maury? I was robbed of his childhood.
How do you find out about him?
Through his mother that we knew up in the area of Pennsylvania. They was telling me that he was trying to contact me, and I gave them my number. And somehow we connected and we got on Facebook, man.
Were
and
you,
that was
were you surprised?
that was the best feeling in the world, man.
You see yourself in him.
Yeah, you got that swagger, man. You know?
Swagger.
Yeah, we know we got that swagger. You boy, you know.
You know, he
Look at
passed
that.
it all on to me,
See,
though.
see.
You think whatever problems you had in terms of not having a birth father around, all the questions that you had, that would all be erased if I proved that that Gene's your father?
Most definitely, because then you have a foundation. You have a foundation to be able to dig for those answers, to ask those questions that you never got to ask. And as you said, was robbed of. Because for myself, I had no choice in the matter.
Right.
I was just born.
We have the DNA results. We're going to read them. Anything you want him to know, Gene, before I open this up?
Well, whatever the results is, James, I'm here for you.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
still your dad.
In the case of 31-year-old James, Gene, you are the father.
My boy. All these years, thank you, Jesus. I prayed for this day. I prayed God would send you here to me one day.
You are not the father.